On the surface of a swift flowing stream, the reflections of things near or far are always indistinct. Even if the water is clear and has no foam, reflections in the constant stream of ripples, the restless kaleidoscope of water, are still uncertain, vague, incomprehensible. Only when the water has flowed down river after river and reaches a broad, calm estuary or comes to rest in some backwater or a small, still lake, only then can we see in its mirror-like smoothness every leaf of a tree on the bank, every wisp of a cloud, and the deep blue expanse of the sky. It is the same with our lives. If so far we have been unable to see clearly or to reflect the eternal lineaments of truth, is it not because we too are still moving towards some end, because we are still alive? We are tuned in to Fitness and Consciousness. That's by Alexander Solzhenitsyn, Stories and Prose Poems. So today's episode is called, what is it called? I had some different ideas in mind. Reflections. Let's call it Reflections. How about that? Today's Father's Day. It's about 10:15 p.m. I spent the day by myself. My mom sent me a Happy Father's Day message, and my daughter's mom sent me a nice message, Happy Father's Day message. And I didn't hear from either one of my kids. It's not something I would normally talk about on the show. But I'm not alone in that. I did send each one of my kids a message and a picture of all of us. So my daughter is 21, my son is 18, and it's been since, I guess, Christmas since my daughter responded to me, and it's like 6 months, and not quite, I guess. And it's been longer than that for my son. Well, actually, this strange thing happened. So besides this time I'm about to explain it, it's been literally years. So I try to get a hold of him regularly. I send messages. I still pay support every week, and his mom was always very difficult. My daughter's mom was pretty cool. Not that every encounter that we ever had was pleasant, but we were together in high school, and we were always like together. If there was a funeral, we might go together, even though we weren't like seeing each other anymore. There was stuff that was more important than whatever reason why we weren't together. It was like we weren't trying to like work out being together. But when my dad died, she was with me at the funeral, and I went to her dad's funeral. We went to our friend's mom's funeral together. So just because we weren't together didn't mean whatever. But my son's mom, I wouldn't normally talk bad about people on the show, but what I'm telling is the truth. She would always try to get me in trouble. She told me she was pregnant a month after we broke up, and I asked then, I was like, is there any chance he's not mine? And she said no. And so I was like, okay, good enough. I believed her. And so for the first year and a half of his life, I was going to her apartment every weekend, and I would go and I'd hang out with him in his room for couple hours, few hours, go do, he was, up to like 1.5 at that point. So I spend time giving her like $100 a week and cash. And then one day I go there and what's now her current husband was there. So she just started seeing him. And that was the last time I saw my son for 3 years, even though I was trying. I didn't have any problem with that guy at that time. Ended up having a problem with him later for a very good reason. But at that time, fine, she's seeing somebody else, whatever. I don't care. I said hi to him. Everything was cool. And that was the last time I saw my son for 3 years. So why did it take 3 years? It took me 3 years to get a court date. So I went to, I got to hit pause for a second. I just realized I didn't plug in my computer. Okay. So it took me 3 years to get a court date from the time I filed. And this is in a small town. She was able to delay court over and over and over again. The first judge, or the first attorney that she had, was the judge's wife. And so I had an attorney. I can't do that. So it got moved to a different town, and then it got delayed some more, and then that judge retired, and then it got moved back, and it was just crazy. I never delayed court one single time. I was the one that went there, and when I went to the courthouse the first time, I said, I need to get my visitation and support set up. And they said, we don't do that. All we do is get money for the mom. I said, well, so my mom's friend is an attorney. And so he's like, well, they have to do that. That's what they do. He's like sent me the law. So I was like, it's actually the law that you have to do this. And he said, oh, we didn't know what you meant. It's usually the mom that calls. Fine, whatever. And then she was able to delay court over and over and over again. Finally get to court after 1.5 years. She decides, so we're at court, we're all there, and then comes out, it got delayed again, and she decided she wanted a DNA test. I never asked for a DNA test. My son looked just like me. She said there was no reason to think he could be someone else's from when I asked her when she first told me. And fine. So she wanted a DNA test. I asked her if there was an honest reason that she wanted one. And she said her attorney asked her if she wanted one, and she said, sure. So it ended up, that was after 1.5 years. It took another 1.5 years to get back to court because she was able to delay court over and over and over again. It was insane. And I had an attorney. But so when we did get to court, she's up there, she got caught up in lies. Like she had somebody else come up, and it was just like, so obvious they were lying. And the judge is even has weird expressions on his face. Like, what are you talking about? It doesn't even make sense. So at the end, the judge, I had my chance to talk, and they were trying to make me give him up for adoption to let her new husband adopt him because I hadn't seen him in 3 years. I said, if you didn't delay court for 3 years, you wouldn't even be able to say that. It's like, I've been trying for 3 years, and they were acting like she was saying that I could have just came by any time I wanted. And right. So the judge, when he made his decision, he said, well, obviously visitation should start as soon as possible. And then he ended up putting me 3 years behind in child support. So I started out 3 years behind, even though I was the one trying to get there the whole time, and I didn't know if I was ever going to see him again. So all I had to do was sign my name, and I wouldn't have owed anything, and that would have just been over. But nope, I didn't do that. So like this owl behind me, it's like, who are you? That's what the owl symbolizes. If you just listen to the show's on YouTube also and Patreon. So my background for the show is a big great horned owl. And so no, not giving up my son. It's crazy. No fucking way. So put me 3 years behind. Okay. I'll take it. So you think her giving me a hard time was over? Nope. So I'd go there, and sometimes it was fine. And then like once I started being able to like just take him with me, it got better. But then it would get worse too, because it seemed like, and this whole show isn't going to be me venting about her, but this is a story I think a lot of guys can relate to. I think sometimes have changed now, but I mean, the man going to court for his kids, it's like he's an enemy no matter what. It was insane. Every other weekend visitation, and now it's different in Indiana, but it wasn't the deal I got. But so she would make up stuff about me. She would try to get me in trouble. She called Child Protective Services on me anonymously. My son's mom. My daughter's mom never did that stuff. She said I had my kids sleeping on a cold garage floor. And so Child Protective Services comes to the house, and I'm like, what's going on? And he goes, don't worry. I knew as soon as I pulled up, it was a bogus call. I'm like, okay, what's going on? He's like, there was an anonymous call. You had your kids sleeping on the garage floor. I'm like, what? He's like, I know it was bogus, but I got to check your place out and take pictures. I'm like, okay, fine. So he's walking around the house and he's taking pictures. He's like, oh, you're fine. You're fine. He's taking pictures of the bedroom. You're fine. You're fine. And got to the garage. And what was funny was we had an attached garage, and that was where we trained martial arts. Kids would like play out there. The garage was like the cleanest room in the house. The floor was spotless. There was no like sharp edges because, we're training out there doing martial arts and stuff. So it had like 3-4 layers of carpet and padding. And just heated, air conditioned. So even if my kids were sleeping out there, it'd be fine. It wouldn't, but they weren't. I mean, they'd drag all their stuffed animals out there and play, and we'd do stuff. It was just a cool spot. So it was almost like that garage was kind of like this sacred kind of a place. And for her to say, it was almost like extra worse that she said like in our garage, because this garage was such a place where so many cool things happened. And it'd be fine if they were sleeping out there. It wouldn't be a big deal at all, but they weren't. It was basically just like an extra room. Not an extra room. It was just room. Nice room. So then that never stopped. And then it got, she didn't keep like calling CPS on me, but it was like, I'd get my kids, and it was like, we'd go out to Brown County, like the state park, big woods and stuff. We'd have fun. We'd go to the movies. And it seemed like the more fun we had, the better time we had, like the madder she would get. So I'd be dropping them off. Everything was so cool. What a great weekend. So happy. And then I'd get like a phone call of just madness, like just madness, absolute insanity. And then so she would keep him from me. Like it'd be supposed to be my weekend. She's like, well, we're going camping this weekend. Okay, all right, so can I get him next weekend then? Well, that's not your weekend. And that happened 100 times. I'm not exaggerating. I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than 100 times. And it was just like always something. It was just crazy. And so she said, she told my son that I like hit her and stuff, and she'd always try to get me in trouble. And I never got in any kind of trouble because everything that she said was just not true. So I think my son still kind of was like believing, because she told him I just didn't come around for 3 years. You know, like I wasn't trying to see him. And she made it seem like she took me to court, which is not what happened at all. So in his mind, who do you believe? Do you believe your mom or your dad? And when he would come with me and have fun, he would get punished for it pretty much. She would punish us for it. And my daughter, who has, a cool mom, she got punished for it too because she wants to see her brother, and we were all ripped off. We were all ripped off. It's not fair. So sometimes, like how I started this story, that's enough about that now. Sometimes how now as we reflect, we look back. How clear can we see what happened? And the facts of the story are the facts. I mean, she could make up some stuff. I'm not trying to make myself sound perfect, but those basic facts they're facts. And so, yeah. And with my daughter, it was a different story. Like I said, she hadn't talked to me since like Christmas. But I guess you could say I was not happy with some of her decision making, and I tried to get her help for different stuff, and she didn't like the way I went about that, I guess you could say. But my son, I only told one person this so far. I like I said, I keep trying to get a hold of my son, even though he wasn't responding. The times when he did respond to me, like even some years ago, it was not nice. But I still try. I still send him messages somewhat regularly. I'm pretty sure he gets them. And so I sent a message a few weeks ago, I guess, and I said, hi, I love you, and I sure would like to talk to you. And I get a call, and that's supposedly his phone number. I can't be positive that it's his phone number. His mom says it's his phone number. But so I send it to that number, and I get a call from a different number a few minutes later. It's a different number, and it says, "What did you want to talk about?" And I'm like caught off guard, and I'm like, it's not his number, but so I was like trying to put this together, and I was like, who's this? And he's like, well, you said you wanted to talk. What do you want to talk about? I was like, who's this? He said, it's Michael. And I was like, oh, he's like, who's this? Or something like that. And I was like, oh, he said, it's Michael. Who's this? I said, it's your dad. And then he hung up, and it was like missed, like MIST. And like, just like, you try to grab for it, and there's just nothing to grab. And then like I sent a message back to that number he called from. I tried sending him another message. I sent him a message today and no response. So he's 18. I know sometimes these are, sometimes those are rough years. So I'm not going to give up. I know I didn't do anything to, I guess I didn't do anything to deserve what's happening. And neither did he. So I did tell one friend, like after it happened, because I'm just like, I guess that was him that called. And he had to have known it was me because I've been sending a message to that number for years. But then like as soon as like it starts to talk, like it's just like there's nothing to hold on to. But I'll keep trying. So it was like after, so my daughter, she was like trying to get a hold of him because he doesn't get a hold of her either, or like anybody on our side of the family. It's like he was just like he was always like punished for being with us. So when I talked to this friend of mine, this friend like I always burn, like as part of my preparation for this show, I burned 2 different sage bundles and some incense, and this friend of mine gave me one of those sage bundles. I burn it before every show. And so I called her, or I sent her a message and told her what happened. And she said something like, well, maybe he's just kind of like feeling it out or something like that. Or I don't remember exactly what she said, but it wasn't a lot of a response. But so Father's Day. So my dad died in 2005. This is his mug. I drink out of his mug pretty much every show. So this show, there's a lot of special things that go on that maybe I don't mention every time. I've mentioned the mug a few times, and or maybe a bunch of times, and the incense and the sage. And I burned sage that another friend of mine gave to me. And all I did today was I went and got a workout in. And before that, earlier today, I went to Crown Hill Cemetery and walked around for a while. And it's kind of interesting what we get in this world, isn't it? Like you can, like I see, so I spent the day by myself, but like yesterday, so this weekend there was a bar in town that has they have like it's almost like kind of like a Grateful Dead themed bar sort of, and I've never even been in there. I don't drink or anything now, but they were showing the Dead and Company live stream from Chicago Friday and Saturday night. And I asked a couple friends, I asked a few different people, and everybody was busy. I guess I was asking kind of like last minute, but so I ended up watching it by myself. I got, so I didn't even think I could get the live stream myself and just watch it from home. So I did that. And it's like the Dead is, it's like one of those bands, like some of the songs are like happy songs and fun, but some of them are like, they're just like so heavy. They're so heavy. And like, so it was playing, and I don't know if it was the second or third song that they played, but it was High Time. And that's one of those heavy songs. Like, do you like that song? Like isn't even the word. Like, you don't like it or dislike it. It's just, it's like, you told me goodbye. How was I to know you didn't mean goodbye? You meant please don't let me go. And it's just like, oh my God, that's heavy. And you know, I'm watching the live stream, and there's like this kid in the front row. It looks like he's with his dad, and he looks like he's about like 12 or something like that. He's singing along. He's having a great time. He's not there just because his parents dragged him there. He's having a great time. He loves the music, you can tell. And I saw Grateful Dead. We went in 1994. We went in 1995. I was 15, 16 years old, and 14, 15 years old. And so for me, I get there's just like a lot of heavy memories that go with it. So it's not like the song isn't just the song. It's like all this history, this heavy stuff, these, you know, old friends and old times, and like now that I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do anything like that. And like when I quit, which was about 7 years ago, there are friends that I haven't hung out with since then. And, you know, some I've asked to do something. I've asked, like, hey, you want to come over and like throw some kettlebells around out in the backyard? You want to, you know, do this kind of stuff? And you know, it's like some of it just never happened again. And I guess that's just kind of the way it is. And maybe there's like some kind of contact with some of them still, like maybe liking Instagram posts or tagging them in the Instagram posts, like so they can see something. And but there was a time I wouldn't have had any trouble finding somebody to go with. It would have almost been like you don't even have to ask, you know. And I have cool friends now. It's not like I don't have any friends. I have some really cool friends now. A lot of them are in the training business and martial artists, and you know, I guess I guess sometimes, like when you change your habits, you change the people that you're hanging out with. And maybe sometimes I want to do like the stuff that I used to do, minus the drinking and smoking. It kind of leaves me by myself. And you know, I'm sure I could have found somebody if I had, like, it's Father's Day weekend and stuff, so it's a little bit different. So not having, and I didn't really ask that many people. It was just 3 people. They were busy. Fine. But sometimes like that, how I started out the show with the Alexander Solzhenitsyn prose poems, I think whatever that was, a little story. And the reflections, like we don't really see, how clearly can we see what's going on? And well, speaking of, there was I haven't read through very much of this. There was sorry, there was something there we go. Sorry. The elm log. We were sawing firewood when we picked up an elm log and gave a cry of amazement. It was a full year since we had chopped down the trunk, dragged it along behind a tractor, and sawn it up into logs, which we had then thrown onto barges and wagons, rolled into stacks, and piled up on the ground. And yet this elm log had still not given up. A fresh green shoot had sprouted from it with a promise of a thick, leafy branch, or even a whole new elm tree. We placed the log on the sawing horse, as though on an executioner's block, but we could not bring ourselves to bite into it with our saw. How could we? That log cherished life as dearly as we did. Indeed, its urge to live was even stronger than ours. You ever feel like that elm log? Yeah. How do you feel like that elm log? And what has made you? What have you been through that makes you feel like that elm log? You've been chopped down and you're dragged behind a tractor and you're going through all this stuff, and then you're still sprouting new. You're still sprouting a little bit of green. You're still going to try. You're not done. Still trying. As long as you can try, you're still going to try. You have stuff like that in your life? Yeah. Me too. So maybe that's my jiu-jitsu teacher says your karma is your thinking. Okay. So my jiu-jitsu teacher started teaching in Indianapolis in 1969 or 1967, maybe. Might have been 1967. He's from Korea. He actually got invited here by I think it was the Indiana Judo Association to start teaching here because he lived in Korea. They invited him to move here, pay for everything, because there was demand to learn authentic judo, and he is authentic, and so that's how he came here. And I actually saw that letter of invitation when he was on vacation, and one of the senior students, another instructor, was teaching. He decided to clean out his office, clean out the teacher's office. And so when he was doing that, he found that letter and he showed it to me. And I remember it was after class, and I was sweating, and I was making sure I wasn't going to drip any sweat on that old letter. But anyways, he says, my point in that is, like, he's old. He's been around for a long time. He understands Zen, his Zen master, I would say. And he says, your karma is your thinking. And I never heard anybody else say that before. But maybe it takes a long time to understand, but I can see how that is. Your karma is your thinking. So I think this just popped in my head. I think he even said, like, when somebody, they commit a crime, they go to jail, they get out of jail, they do the same crime, and they end up back in jail. So is that their karma? Well, how are you thinking about karma? If your karma is your thinking, well, then that makes sense. And so when we're going through these tough times, the way you go through it, how you carry yourself, will determine a lot of the outcome. So maybe you still won't get what you want, but at least you're not lowering yourself to lowering yourself, just at least you're not lowering yourself, right? And so normally it probably isn't cool to just like talk bad about somebody and do the rant and like I did about my son's mom, but it's Father's Day and well, I'm telling the truth. Sometimes on this show I let out more than I have deleted a few episodes for various reasons, but people want what's real, and I'm not here to present myself as this is me. It's real. I don't edit the show, and so people have these real things going on. Maybe on Instagram, everybody's life is perfect. Everybody has great butts. Their relationship is perfect with this amazing man or woman, and they're always on vacation. They have such nice cars. Their kids are perfect. And then, but which it's cool. It's cool to people want to share the best parts of their lives, but sometimes we need to vent a little bit, and it's good to have somebody to vent to, someone that'll listen to us, and then we can listen and vent to them. I have some people, not very many, that I would even try, but I have a few people I can do that with, and like my buddy Sam. What's up, Sam? I think he listens. He listens to some of the shows. I know, and so like sometimes we don't talk. I wouldn't say we talk very often, but when we do, we might talk on the phone for an hour and a half, because it's just like, it's like, hey, what's up, man? You don't say nothing. Well, what's up with you? Oh, just hanging out. What's up with you? No, it's like, what's up? What's going on? Like, seriously, what is going on in your life? And then you talk about what's actually going on in each other's lives. Cool stuff, bad stuff. And it's real. And I have other buddies like Chris and Joey, and it's interesting who we share what with. But and something I was thinking about today was like the point of diminishing returns. Okay, so I'm speaking literally and figuratively here. It's like with my son. Yes, I still send him messages regularly. How regularly? Well, maybe it's every couple weeks, maybe it's every few weeks, maybe a month goes by, maybe 8 weeks goes by. So, and remember, I'm not getting any response for years. I'm still trying. Every couple weeks, maybe a little bit longer than that goes by. And then I get this phone call from the different number. And by the time I figure out that it's him, he hangs up, and it's like, so why don't I call him every day? Why don't I try every day? Well, I don't want to get blocked. So there's a point of diminishing returns on that. I send a message enough that he knows I want to talk to him. I want to hang out with him and stuff. But I can't be too overwhelming because sometimes he'll block people. So, and then today on my workout, so I had like this intense workout. So I have two different workouts that I alternate. And today it was one where I was doing 30 minutes, and every minute on the minute I would do a set. I would either do pull-ups, either 3 or 4 pull-ups, alternating, or 3 or 4 squats with 1 or 2 jerks. This is with the 2 57-pound kettlebells at the end. So I'd either do pull-ups or squats and jerks every minute on the minute. And so I was going into 30 minutes. I did 30 minutes last time, and it was rough. I was getting over this like allergy thing or something weird. I was blowing my nose and all this blood's coming out. And I got through the workout, all 30 minutes. And then today I feel better, feel fine. I ended up quitting after 18 minutes. I think there's a point of diminishing returns on such an intense workout. And so when we work out, like for males, I know less about the female hormone boosting and stuff from exercise, but like for men, we do like these workouts, it boosts our testosterone. Okay, so for women, I have a feeling it does the same thing. It's been a while since I've looked into that, so I don't want to say exactly because I don't really know. But my guess is, well, not my guess. It does regulate things. It puts things at a better level. I know that much. But exactly what's raising and lowering, I'm not exactly sure, so I don't want to say. So for men, we work out our testosterone boosts, and I think there's a point of maybe if we work out too much, maybe it causes it to drop. Or even if not that, there's going to be a point of diminishing returns. And when I hit that 18-minute mark today, it's like, nothing good's going to happen from me pushing through the rest of this workout. I could do it, but the only difference between this workout and the last was I added 1 squat every other set. So, and that was the idea for this program, is to do something more. I would either a jerk, a squat, a pull up, starting off with like every other set. And that way each session I'm doing more. And so now I've hit the point of diminishing returns. So I could keep trying. I could have completely exhausted myself. I could have done it, but that would have been 12 more sets. And what good would it have done? Okay. So yes, I'm speaking literally. These are the actual numbers of my workout. But my goal for what I'm doing now, I'm in it for longevity. I think I can still get stronger. I can still get more powerful, more endurance, different kinds of endurance. I think I can improve in a bunch of different areas still. But my overall goal is I want to be healthy and strong when I'm old. I want to be able to move well. And so if it's these kind of workouts where it's like, okay, that I've kind of figured out the maybe 30 minutes every minute on the minute with those weights isn't the thing to do. So what I'm probably going to do is maybe 10 minutes and then take a break for a few minutes and then go back and do another 10 minutes, something like that. I'll think about it because I want to go up higher in weight, and we'll see. I'm going to play around with it. I'm not training for anything specific, like a specific event. So the energy system thing gets pretty complicated. I mean, you get better at what you practice. So I think, okay, like for martial arts, I like to practice martial arts. Maybe when you're at first learning martial arts, or maybe kind of like an intermediate stage, maybe. It depends on your age also. But if you're a 20-year-old, strong, athletic, male, and you're kind of an explosive kind of person, I don't mean that in a bad way, like you have a lot of power and energy, then should you just be doing Tai Chi, these flowing movements, or do you want to get down there and do some pretty hard sparring, kickboxing, hard grappling, hard? I say, yeah, do the hard sparring, do the hard, save your head. Don't like make it a rule where you can't punch to the head, but make sure you're working with people that aren't just trying to knock you out, and because you want to save your head still, but you can still take pretty hard shots to the body, lightish, medium-ish shots to the head. But very much protect the head. Very highly recommend that. Well, now I'm 40. So I don't want to have these brutal kickboxing type sparring sessions anymore. I like light sparring. You know, punches are coming anywhere. You can punch anywhere, kick anywhere. But I don't want to get punched in the head by people that are experts at punching people in the head. Well, it's not going to do me any good. I can still get better. And then if I get in a street situation where I really have to protect myself, I'm still way better off than someone who's not training. And I have the longevity where I can train my whole life like this, right? And so for grappling, it's the same way. And I'm developing a system where I don't present myself as the best at anything. But like, say, for instance, heel hooks, which can bust somebody's knee. If, you know, a lot of people have had to have knee surgeries, you know, injuries are very, very common in martial arts, especially like something like Brazilian jiu-jitsu or something where you have people that are going after each other hard, regularly. So part of that is going to be necessary. But at a certain point, when we're looking for preservation, there's a point of diminishing returns. And so like for my grappling, so I explained the striking. We can kick and punch anywhere, just not very hard. You can go harder to the body, pull the punches to the face. It doesn't take much to break somebody's nose, or so easy, and you're still moving, still working on timing. Be a little different timing than like real fight timing, but it's pretty close. There's that point of diminishing returns. So for grappling, when I have like people over to my place to train, you know, I invite people that have like the mindset of, we're not just trying to kill each other. It's winning isn't the most important thing going on. It's practicing, it's getting better, helping other people get better. And so there's, so you can do any kind of lock you want. You can do pinky locks, you can do heel hooks, you can do anything. But if you're going for the heel hook, you're not really going for it. You grab it, and then you say it, oh, heel hook, oh, toe hold, oh, you know, like whatever you got. And then you pretty much just let it go. Let the person get out of it. Because that's something, like heel hooks are a thing, like you think you're fine. It doesn't really hurt very much. And then a little bit more torque and your knee pops, and then you have to go get surgery. And it's a fine line in between. So other things are, you can tell more, like shoulder locks, there's other things where you can. It's easier to fight it and then know more when to tap, and to also feel, because part of this is learning. If you're training with the right person, I know when somebody should tap before they even tap. You can just feel it. So, and then it's the same thing with like stacking someone. So if you don't train grappling, I don't want to lose you here, but it's basically like where you like fold somebody in half, and you're smashing their hips down to their face, like if they're trying for an arm bar or a triangle choke or something. It's like smash them. Well, I put stacking in the same category as heel hooks now. You can stack, but just don't do it very hard. The other person should be able to start working out of it. Okay, well, why? Well, I think a lot of injuries from jiu-jitsu come from stacking. Okay, so because of like being sick and because of like some scheduling stuff, we hadn't trained at my place in like 2 weeks. We're getting back to it this week. But so I put stacking in the same category as heel hooks. Then a buddy of mine, who wasn't even there, but we've trained together a good amount, said that he got stacked real hard by a guy that was, it sounded like he outweighed him by like 80 pounds or something like that. Stacked him real hard at class, and it hurt him. And then, but he didn't even, that was before I sent him when I responded, I was like, yeah, I put stacking in the same category as heel hooks, which I think for most people grappling, they're not going to connect those two. Like, what do those have to do with each other? But for me, it has to do with preservation. I'm 40 years old. I have no interest in competing, so I have no desire to be in such extreme positions. Make sense? So I think if you do have experience, you do understand that. But anyways. So what point in what parts of your life do you see points of diminishing returns where you should keep trying, but maybe you need to back off on the intensity? This could cover a lot of different areas. So in your life, what do you need to adjust? Where do you need to adjust your intensity? Freedom to breathe. A shower fell in the night, and now dark clouds drift across the sky, occasionally sprinkling a fine film of rain. I stand under an apple tree and blossom, and I breathe. Not only the apple tree, but the grass round it glistens with moisture. Words cannot describe the sweet fragrance that pervades the air. I inhale as deeply as I can, and the aroma invades my whole being. I breathe with my eyes open. I breathe with my eyes closed. I cannot say which gives me the greater pleasure. This, I believe, is the single most precious freedom that prison takes away from us, the freedom to breathe freely, as I now can. No food on earth, no wine, not even a woman's kiss is sweeter to me than this air steeped in the fragrance of flowers, of moisture and freshness. No matter that this is only a tiny garden, hemmed in by 5-story houses like cages in a zoo, I cease to hear the motorcycles backfiring, radios whining, the burble of loudspeakers. As long as there is fresh air to breathe under an apple tree after a shower, we may survive a little longer. And that's from Solzhenitsyn. I just started reading about him. I heard about him several times from Jordan Peterson, Dr. Jordan Peterson. And so Solzhenitsyn wrote the Gulag Archipelago, and he was in Prison. I don't know a lot about his life story, really. Um, but I know he was speaking out against the communism and um, in the Soviet Union, and this was quite some time ago. Uh, let's see, when did he live? I don't have it right in front of me, sorry. But let's see. So it said, in summer of 1953, I was turning from the hot, dusty wastelands, making my way aimlessly back to Russia. No one had sent for me, and no one was waiting for me, because my return had been delayed by a little matter of 10 years. I'm looking forward to learning more about him. And I'll read one more here from him. At sunrise, 30 young people ran out into the clearing. They fanned out, their faces turned towards the sun, and began to bend down, to drop to their knees, to bow, to lie flat on their faces, to stretch out their arms, to lift up their hands, and then to drop back on their knees again. All this lasted for a quarter of an hour. From a distance, you might have thought they were praying. In this age, no one is surprised if people cherish their bodies patiently and attentively every day of their lives. But they would be jeered at if they paid the same regard to their souls. No, these people are not praying. They are doing their morning exercises. Hmm. I'm going to read this, which it just reminded me of something. So this is the last of the, I guess you call it prose in this book. I haven't read this before. It's called We Will Never Die. Above all else, we have grown to fear death and those who die. If there is a death in a family, we try to avoid writing or calling because we do not know what to say about death. It is even considered shameful to mention a cemetery seriously. You would never say at work, "Sorry, I can't come on Sunday. I've got to visit my relatives at the cemetery." What is the point of bothering about people who are not going to invite you to a meal? What an idea, moving a dead man from one town to another. No one would lend a car for that. And nowadays, if you're a non-entity, you don't get a hearse and a funeral march, just a quick trip on a lorry. Once people used to go to our cemeteries on Sundays and walk between the graves, singing beautiful hymns and spreading sweet-smelling incense. It set your heart at rest. It allayed the painful fears of inevitable death. It was almost as though the dead were smiling from under their gray mounds. It's all right. Don't be afraid. But nowadays, if a cemetery is kept up, there's a sign there. Owners of graves, keep this place tidy on penalty of a fine. But more often, they just roll them flat with bulldozers to build sports grounds and parks. Then there are those who died for their native land. It could still happen to you or me. There was a time when the church set aside a day of remembrance for those who fell on the battlefield. England does this on Poppy Day. All nations dedicate one day to remembering those who died for us all. More men died for us Russians than for any other people, yet we have no such day. If you stop and think about the dead, who is to build the new world? In 3 wars, we have lost so many husbands, sons, and lovers, yet to think of them repels us. They're dead, buried under painted wooden posts. Why should they interfere with our lives? For we will never die. It's interesting. His Father's Day, I was at the cemetery, and not even where my dad is buried. Now, I was thinking about doing a show about like memorials for the living. It was Memorial Day last week, a few weeks ago, a couple weeks ago, something like that. And that's for the people that died in wars. And I got to thinking, and I think about it sometimes, is what about the people that are still here? Sometimes we don't do a good job of remembering who's still here. I could do better at it too. Like, do you call your mom enough? Do you call your kids enough? Are you asking them to go do things enough? Are you calling your friends enough? Which ones are you forgetting about? Who's that friend of yours that maybe you should give a call? Are you spending your time calling on someone that doesn't call back? Are you spending your time trying to build this house of cards that you hope will be a relationship with someone, but you're building that cards when it's just too windy? It's a windy day, and maybe every once in a while there's a break in the wind and you get a couple set up and then it just gets blown down. Sometimes maybe hear a no, or maybe hear a no is better than hearing nothing. So maybe you're pursuing someone and you're pretty sure that if the conditions could just be right, then everything would be great. We could be together, and if only she could understand this, if only she could see. Then what? Well, as I started out the show about reflections, and how clear can we reflect, when we're still moving. Well, I guess that's the answer, though, right? It's just you keep moving, you keep doing what you do, and like the great owl behind me symbolizes is, who are you? What are you doing here? Thank you for tuning in. We'll see you next time.